Savitri, Book 2, The Book of the Traveler of the Worlds, Canto 10, The Kingdoms and Godheads of the Little Mind. This too must now be overpassed and left, as all must be until the highest is gained, in whom the world and self grow true and one. Till that is reached, our journeying cannot cease. Always a nameless goal beckons beyond, always ascends the zigzag of the gods, and upward points the spirit's climbing fire. This breath of hundred-hued felicity, and its pure heightened figure of time's joy, tossed upon waves of flawless happiness, hammered into single beats of ecstasy, this fraction of the spirit's integer, caught into a passionate greatness of extremes, this limited being lifted to zenith bliss, happy to enjoy one touch of things supreme, packed into its sealed small infinity, its endless time-made world, outfacing time, a little output of God's vast delight. The moments stretch towards the eternal now, the hours discovered immortality, but satisfied with their sublime contents, on peaks they ceased, whose tops halfway to heaven pointed to an apex they could never mount, to a grandeur in whose air they could not live, inviting to their high and exquisite sphere, to their secure and fine extremities, this creature who hugs his limits to feel safe. These heights declined a greater adventure's call, a glory and sweetness of satisfied desire, tied up the spirit to golden posts of bliss. It could not house the wideness of a soul which needed all infinity for its home. A memory soft as grass and faint as sleep, the beauty and call receding sank behind, like a sweet song heard fading far away upon the long high road to timelessness. Above was an ardent white tranquility. A musing spirit looked out on the worlds, and like a brilliant clambering of skies, passing through clarity to an unseen light, large lucent realms of mind from stillness shone. But first he met a silver-gray expanse, where day and night had wedded and were one. It was a tract of dim and shifting rays, parting life's sentient flow from thought's self-poise. A coalition of uncertainties there exercised uneasy government on a ground reserved for doubt and reasoned guess, a rendezvous of knowledge with ignorance. At its low extremity, held difficult sway a mind that hardly saw and slowly found its nature to our earthly nature close, and kin to our precarious mortal thought, that looks from soil to sky and sky to soil, but knows not the below nor the beyond. It only sensed itself and outward things. This was the first means of our slow ascent. From the half-conscience of the animal soul, living in a crowded press of shape events, in a realm it cannot understand nor change, only it sees and acts in a given scene, and feels and joys and sorrows for a while. The ideas that drive the obscure, embodied spirit along the roads of suffering and desire, in a world that struggles to discover truth, found here their power to be and nature force. Here are devised the forms of an ignorant life that sees the empiric fact as settled law, labors for the hour and not for eternity, and trades its gains to meet the moment's call. The slow process of a material mind, which serves the body it should rule and use, and needs to lean upon an erring sense, was born in that luminous obscurity, advancing tardily from a limping start, crutching hypothesis on argument, throning its theories as certitudes, it reasons from the half-known to the unknown, ever constructing its frail house of thought, ever undoing the web that it has spun. A twilight sage, whose shadow seems to himself, moving from minute to brief minute, lives. A king, dependent on his satellites, signs the decrees of ignorant ministers. A judge, in half possession of his proofs, a voice clamant of uncertainties, postulates, and an architect of knowledge, not its source. This powerful bond slave of his instruments thinks his low station nature's highest top, oblivious of his share in all things made, and haughtily humble in his own conceit, believes himself a spawn of matter's mud, and takes his own creations for his cause. To eternal light and knowledge meant to rise, up from man's bare beginning is our climb. Out of earth's heavy smallness we must break. We must search our nature with spiritual fire. An insect crawl preludes our glorious flight. Our human state cradles the future God. Our mortal frailty an immortal force. Namaste.